Hello everyone, we are Group G, and our chosen country is the United States of America. And I'll be present the question 1. 齐乐章 will present question 2. Wei Hong will present question 3. Xiang Yuji will present question 4. And lastly, Jia Xuanguo will present question 5. My question is, how has globalization influenced the political economy of your chosen country, which is United States of America? Explain with reference to the system that compares a nation's political economy. What challenges might the legal system of your chosen country present for an Australian firm considering establishing a presence in that country? Today, I'll be discussing how globalization has influenced the political economy of the United States of America. I'll focus on the political, economic, and legal systems that make up the nation's political economy. Additionally, I'll highlight the challenges the U.S. legal system might present for an Australian firm considering establishing a presence there. Globalization has significantly impacted the United States in a various ways. The first one is political system. The U.S. is a federal democratic republic. Globalization has linked it more closely with other countries, leading to involvement in the international agreement like in the FTA and the WTO. This has sparked domestic debates on trade policies, immigrations, and international cooperation. And then the economic system. The U.S. has a capitalized market economy. Globalization has broadened its market, enable U.S. companies to operate globally and foreign companies to enter U.S. markets. This has boosted competition, innovation, and consumer options, but also raised concern about job outsourcing and trade deflects. And then lastly, legal system. The U.S. legal system follows common law. Due to the globalization, laws have been adjusted to manage international trade, intellectual property, and foreign investments. Strict rules exist in the U.S. to safeguard consumers, workers, and the environment, impacting business at home and abroad. Challenge for Australian firm in the U.S. legal system. Australian firm looking to establish a presence in the U.S. might face several legal challenges. The first one is regulatory compliance. The U.S. have complex federal, state, and local regulations. Companies must navigate laws related to taxes, employment, environmental standards, and industry-specific regulations, which can vary significantly across states. Second one is litigation risk. The U.S. is known for the litigious environment. Firms may face lawsuits related to product liability, patent, or consumer rights. This requires robust legal strategies to manage potential legal actions. The third one might be intellectual property protection. While the U.S. has strong IP laws, enforcement can be costly. Firms need to ensure their intellectual property is adequately protected and prepare for the defense in court if necessary. And the last one is antitrust laws. U.S. antitrust laws are strict to prevent monopolies and promote competition. Australian firms must be careful with mergers, accusations, and pricing strategy to avoid violating these laws. In conclusion, globalization has deeply influenced the United States political economy by expanding its international trade and economic activities, whilst the U.S. offering vast opportunities for business growth. Australian firms must be prepared to navigate its complex legal system, understanding and complying with federal and state regulations, protecting intellectual property, and managing litigation risk are crucial for success. Thank you.
Question 2. Analyze the level of both economic development and human development, and which measure is important to Australian companies considering the U.S. locations. For an Australian firm contemplating expansion into the US market, understanding both economic and human development indicators is crucial. Key metrics to consider include gross domestic product per capita, the Human Development Index, and the population. Each of these indicators provides valuable insights into the market's potential and overall business environment in the United States. Firstly, GDP per capita serves as a primary measure of economic development and reflects the average income per person. In the United States, these figures is among the highest globally, indicating a high standard of living and substantial purchasing power among consumers. As noted in several studies, Ragman and Verbeek suggested that high GDP per capita is directly linked to stronger consumer demand and a favorable business environment, particularly for firms offering premium products. Consequently, for Australian firms, entering the US market presents an opportunity to target consumers with significant financial means, which is advantageous for selling premium products and services. In other words, a high GDP per capita implies that consumers are well positioned to offer a range of goods, making it easier for businesses to achieve strong sales and profitability. In addition to economic factors, the Human Development Index provides insights into human development by combining life expectancy, education levels, and per capita income. The United States consistently scored high on the HDI, which reflects a well-educated population with access to quality healthcare and a high standard of living. As discussed by Brothers and Hannart, a skilled labor force is critical for industries that require specialized expertise, such as technology, healthcare, and finance. Therefore, for Australian firms, a high HDI indicates the presence of a capable workforce, which is particularly beneficial for sectors that depend on innovation and high-skilled labor. Furthermore, the US has a large and diverse population exceeding 330 million people, presenting substantial market potential. This vast consumer base allows businesses to target various demographic segments, thereby broadening market opportunities. Research by Bugosadek, Kostova, and Roth emphasize that population diversity in the US creates opportunities for firms to customize their marketing strategies and product offerings to different consumer segments. For Australian firms, this diversity means there is potential to reach various consumer groups and tailor products to meet a wide range of needs, enhancing market penetration and sales. When evaluating which measure is most critical, GDP per capita stands out as the most significant indicator. This measure directly reflects consumer purchasing power and provides a clear picture of the market's ability to support and sustain business activities. Although HDI and population size offer valuable insights, GDP per capita is crucial for understanding the economic environment and potential for profitability. In particular, a high GDP per capita generally correlates with increased demand for diverse and high-quality products, making the US market especially attractive for businesses offering premium goods. As highlighted by Dunning, companies targeting high GDP markets tend to experience greater return on investment, given the purchasing capacity of local consumers. In conclusion, while the Human Development Index and population size are important considerations, GDP per capita is the most critical factor for an Australian firm looking to expand into the US market. It provides essential insights into consumer spending power and market potential, thus serving as a key metric for assessing overall market viability and profitability. Studies by Verbeek and Greediness also reinforce that prioritizing economic indicators like GDP per capita can significantly improve the success rate of market entry strategies, especially in high developed economies such as US. Now let's welcome Wei Hong to explain the third question. Thank you.
Thanks. Good everyone, I'm Wei Hong, and today I will be discussing the cultural distance between United States and Australia. Through this presentation, I will explore whether those two countries, despite sharing many similarities, are becoming more culturally alike or retaining unique cultural distance. To support the analysis, I will be using two key frameworks: holistic cultural dimensions and Rowan Shankar cultural characteristics. Let's start by defining cultural distance. Cultural distance refers to the difference in values, behavior, and social norm between countries or regions. Many people assume that the US and Australia share language and similar Western rules. Their culture must be identical. However, this is not the case. For instance, where both nations value individual freedoms, their approach to individualism and communicate well for shows distinct difference. The goal of today's presentation is to delve into this cultural nuance and analyze different or similar the US and Australia. By the end of the presentation, we will address the key questions. Are these two countries or converging in their cultural values, or are they becoming more distinct? Holistic cultural dimension offers a structured way to analyze national cultures. It has 6 dimensions: power distance, individualism, masculinity, uncertainty, avoidance, long-term orientations, indulgence. When we look at the dimensions tables, the US and Australia share similarity but difference in key areas. For power distance, both countries have low source scores. 40 for the US and 38 for Australia means they both value equality and reject strict hierarchy. In individualism, Australia scores higher at 73 compared to the US at 60, indicating a stronger emphasis on individual independence. For uncertainty avoidance, both countries are comfortable with uncertainty, with the US scoring 46 and Australia 51. This shows both cultures are open to change. Overall, while the two countries appear similar, Australia places more emphasis on independence. Rowan and Shankar cultural classic series grows countries based on shared traits like language, religions, and history. This US and Australia belong to the Anglo classes, along with the UK, Canada, and New Zealand, sharing a common language and a democratic system. This makes communication and business between them easily. However, even with the same classic, difference remains, especially in how the US and Australia approach individualism and social policies, as we saw with holistic dimensions. Are the US and Australia becoming more alike or more distinct? Globalization and shared political, economic, and linguistic ties are making them more similar in many ways. Both have consumer-driven economies, a similar political system, and a focus on person freedom. The convergence is reinforced by their inclusion in the Anglo's cultural critique and their similar scores in holistic dimension. However, they remain distinct in areas like long-term plannings and communities welfare, which Australia emphasizes more, while the US focus on more short-term achievement. Despite growing similarities, both countries still remain unique cultures, as the role of the cultural variables is supportive of the stable slow change since religions and in particular language are unlikely to change in the near term. In conclusions, when we analyze the cultural distance between the US and Australia, we find that they share many similarities, especially with the Anglo's cultural classic. However, holistic dimensions reveal subtle but significant difference, particularly in the way they value individual realism and approach long-term planning. Overall, we can say that the US and Australia are converging in some areas, but continue to hold onto certainly distinct traits. Globalization may be driving some levels of cultural harmonizations, but both countries are also preserving a step of their Unicode identities. Thanks for your attention. Next, welcome Jixiangyu.
Hi everyone, I am Xiangyu Ji. So today the topic of my presentation is America's best choice in global trade, absolute advantage or comparative advantage, and why. The first part is about the absolute advantage theory of Adam Smith. According to Adam Smith's absolute advantage, Adam Smith recommended that each country should focus on producing goods that it can produce at a lower cost and higher productivity than other countries. This focus for each country can maximize global productivity, thereby increasing the economic well-being of all countries involved in trade. So about the application of absolute advantage in American, that would be software and information technology. We all know that US is a global leader in software development, artificial intelligence, and semiconductor. Companies like Microsoft, Google, and Apple exemplify the US absolute advantage in tech sector. Civil aviation is also an application of absolute advantage. As of 2003, Boeing holds approximately 40% of the global commercial aircraft market. About the pharmaceutical and biotechnical technology, we do not need to mention more. There are so many pharmaceutical companies in the US that we are so familiar, such as Pfizer. So the second part is about David's comparative advantage. So David Ricardo pointed out that even if a country is more productive than other countries in all industries, it can still gain trade benefits by focusing on those industries where its comparative advantage is greater. So what are some sectors where the US holds comparative advantage? Apparently, we can see that the application of comparative advantage in America are more than that of absolute advantage. Investment, banking, and capital markets. The Wall Street continues to be the global hub of financial services, helping to fuel capital markets worldwide and even control the whole capital market. Arts and entertainment industries. For example, Hollywood has set the global standard for entertainment, especially for movies, with American media dominating worldwide consumption. Educational services. US universities consistently rank among the best in the world, attracting students globally and enhancing the country's intellectual capital. Consulting and management services. The United States holds the highest number of companies in the Fortune Global 500, so the services that are provided to companies are significantly crucial and effective. So after comprehensive consideration, so my recommendation to AUS is comparative advantage. Why? So there is a diagram which demonstrates the US GDP share by industry. The biggest part is finance, insurance, and DTC, which are also the US GDP pillars. $5,656.5 billion, followed by professional and business services. Educational service listing in the fifth position, arts and entertainment also list in the diagram. So these industries have one thing in common. They are all the usage of comparative advantage and are the engine of US GDP. And so there's also some reasons that why we need to choose comparative advantage. So promote economic diversification and risk minimization. Comparative advantage encourages US to focus on industry where they are most efficient. It would prevent the economy in US only relies on a single sector to gain more resilience to defend in expecting risks. This is also the most important part that I think for US. And pro-economic efficiency. By focusing on industries where the US holds a comparative advantage, resources are allocated more efficiently. The US can gain more from trading with less productive countries by specializing in sector where its opportunity costs are lower. Enhance global comparison, trade partner complementarity, and also it can avoid trade protectionism. The last, I think, is about enhancing international competitiveness. Specializing in industry where the US has a comparative advantage helps it to stay competitive globally, maintaining leadership in key sectors such as technology, and finance. And yeah, that's all. Thank you. And next, let's welcome Jia Guo.
Question 5. I'll be discussing the trade policy instrument employed by United States and how they release the international trade theory. As the key player of the global trade, the United States used a range of tools to manage its trade relationship, promote domestic industry, and to protect its economic. The first instruments I like to cover is tariffs. The United States imposed tariffs on important goods to protect the domestic industry. For example, tariffs were heavily used in the recent US and China trade war, where US taxed hundreds of billions of dollars worth Chinese import. Tariffs reflect mercantilistic things where government interventions is need to protect domestic market from foreign competition. The United States also employing non-tariff barriers such as quotas, import and licensing, and straightened product standards. An example is U.S. limited stealing important to protect its steel industry. These measures against elites with mercantile theory, which advocate from limited importance to strengthen domestic industry. Another key instrument is subsidies. Especially in agriculture, U.S. farmers receive $1 billion in subsidies to support production and make their export more competitive. The instrument first wins comparative advantage theory, as it allowed the U.S. to focus on industry where it excels, such as agriculture. However, it also reflects protectionist view, as it helps struggling industry maintain a competitive edge. Trade agreement. The U.S. is also deeply involved in trade agreement. A good example is USMCA, a trade deal Canada and Mexico. They agree reduce barrier to trade and open up markets supporting free trade theory, including Edmund Smith's absolute advantage and Ricardo's comparative advantage. This theory promote fewer barriers, allowing countries to specialize in area where they are most efficient. Sanction and trade restriction. Another instrument the U.S. uses is trade sanction. These are often imposing political reasons, like sanction on North Korea and Iran. This is used to trade as tool of foreign policy aligned with mechanism, as it's designed to protect national security and economic interest. Export financing. Finally, the U.S. provided export financing through institutions like Export-Import Bank. These instruments support American companies by providing loans on insurance to help them compete in global market. It reflects a neo-mercantilist idea. Promotion export to strengthen national economic power. In summary, the U.S. employs a mix of mercantilist and comparative advantage approach in its trade policy. Tariffs and subsidies reflect protectionist stance, while trade agreement explore the system with free trade theory. The ongoing U.S.-China trade war is a prime example, where tariffs were used as tool to manage economic competitions and geopolitical tension. In conclusion, the U.S. used various trade policy instruments to shape its economic landscape and global position. Whether through tariffs, subsidy, or trade agreement, each instrument serves our purpose allied with trade theory that reflect both protectionism and free trade principles. Thank you for your attention. And that's our bibliography.